Have you ever noticed someone who constantly talks about money? No matter the conversation, it somehow returns to salary, expensive purchases, investments, wealth, or financial success. Sometimes they brag. Sometimes they complain. Sometimes they compare themselves to others. At first, it seems like they're simply interested in money. But psychology suggests something much deeper may be happening. Money is rarely just about money. For many people, it becomes a language for expressing fear, security, identity, and self-worth. The hidden wound isn't always financial poverty. More often, it's emotional insecurity that quietly shapes how they think and speak. Today, we'll explore the psychology behind people who constantly talk about money, and why philosophers and psychologists believe the real issue often lies far beneath the surface. Let's begin. The famous psychologist Alfred Adler believed that many human behaviors are driven by feelings of inferiority. According to Adler, people naturally seek significance and belonging. When someone feels deeply inadequate, they often look for visible ways to prove their value. For some people, money becomes that proof. Instead of saying, "I want to feel respected," they talk about income. Instead of saying, "I fear being ignored," they discuss expensive possessions. The conversation sounds financial. The motivation is often emotional. Money becomes a substitute for reassurance. This doesn't mean every wealthy person is insecure, nor does it mean discussing finances is unhealthy. Healthy conversations about budgeting, investing, careers, and business are valuable. The difference lies in frequency and emotional intensity. When money becomes someone's favorite topic, regardless of context, psychology invites us to ask what emotional need it may be serving. The philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer once observed that people often pursue external symbols because inner satisfaction is difficult to achieve. He believed that when inner peace is missing, people search endlessly for substitutes. Status, recognition, luxury, approval.
Money can become one of those substitutes. It promises certainty in an uncertain world. But emotional emptiness rarely disappears after another paycheck. Another hidden wound often begins in childhood. Many adults grew up hearing messages like, "Poor people aren't respected. We can't afford that. Money is everything." Or perhaps they experienced financial instability that created chronic anxiety. Research in developmental psychology shows that childhood experiences with scarcity can influence financial attitudes well into adulthood. Children raised in unpredictable environments may become adults who constantly monitor money because their nervous system learned that financial security equals physical safety. Even after becoming financially stable, the fear remains. The bank account changes, the emotional memory doesn't. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught that suffering often comes not from events themselves, but from the meanings we attach to them. Two people can earn exactly the same income. One feels grateful. The other feels terrified. The difference isn't always money. It's interpretation. For someone carrying emotional wounds, money stops being a practical tool. It becomes a shield against fear. Modern psychology also recognizes something called social comparison theory, introduced by psychologist Leon Festinger. Human beings naturally compare themselves with others. In today's world, social media magnifies this tendency. Every luxury vacation, every new car, every designer outfit, every successful entrepreneur creates another opportunity for comparison.
Some people begin talking constantly about money because they're trying to measure their worth against everyone else. Instead of asking, "Am I becoming a better person?" they ask, "Am I richer than someone else?" Comparison quietly replaces contentment. Unfortunately, comparison has no finish line. Someone will always appear richer. Another overlooked psychological pattern is identity. Many people unknowingly build their identity around financial achievement. If business succeeds, they feel valuable. If investments grow, they feel confident. If income falls, they feel like failures. This creates enormous emotional pressure. Psychologist Carl Rogers emphasized the importance of unconditional self-worth. When people believe they deserve respect only after achieving certain goals, their self-esteem becomes fragile. Money becomes emotionally dangerous because every financial setback feels like a personal rejection. This is why some people panic over relatively small losses. They're not losing only money, they're losing part of the identity they've built. The philosopher Seneca, one of history's greatest Stoic thinkers, warned against becoming enslaved by possessions. He wrote that wealth is the servant of the wise, but the master of the foolish. His point wasn't that wealth is harmful. Rather, problems begin when possessions start controlling our emotions. When someone's mood depends entirely on financial success, money is no longer serving them. They've begun serving money. Behavioral economics offers another fascinating insight.
Researchers have found that people often experience the pain of losing money more intensely than the pleasure of gaining the same amount. This tendency, known as loss aversion, explains why financial conversations can become emotionally charged. For someone already carrying insecurity, every expense feels threatening. Every missed opportunity feels permanent. Every market decline feels personal. Their constant discussions about money may actually reflect chronic anxiety rather than greed. Then there's the hidden wound of seeking approval. Some people learned early in life that praise came only after achievement. Good grades, promotions, awards, financial success. Eventually, they begin believing, I matter only when I succeed. Money becomes evidence that they deserve love, respect, or admiration. But philosopher Søren Kierkegaard warned that living according to other people's expectations eventually disconnects us from our authentic selves. The more we chase external approval, the further we drift from genuine peace. Another pattern appears among people who constantly fear not having enough. Psychologists call this a scarcity mindset. Even after earning a comfortable income, the mind continues acting as if resources are disappearing. Instead of enjoying what they have, they obsess over what could be lost. This mindset often produces chronic stress. Ironically, some of the wealthiest individuals still experience intense financial anxiety because emotional security cannot be purchased. True security grows from emotional resilience, meaningful relationships, and confidence in one's ability to adapt.
Money can support these things. It cannot replace them. The philosopher Confucius believed that a balanced life comes from cultivating character before possessions. He taught that integrity, wisdom, and compassion outlast material success. This perspective remains remarkably relevant today. Financial success is valuable, but without emotional stability, even great wealth can feel strangely empty. Perhaps the most important lesson is this. Not everyone who talks about money is hiding emotional pain. Some people genuinely enjoy discussing economics, investing, entrepreneurship, or financial education. Context always matters. Psychology is about understanding patterns, not judging individuals. What matters is whether money has become someone's only source of confidence, identity, or emotional safety. If it has, the deeper need deserves attention. The healthiest relationship with money is one where it remains a tool rather than a measure of human worth. Money buys comfort, it creates opportunity, it reduces certain stresses, but it cannot permanently satisfy the need to feel accepted, respected, or loved. Those needs are deeply human, and they require something far richer than currency. So the next time you meet someone who constantly talks about money, resist the urge to label them as greedy or materialistic. Instead, consider a quieter possibility. Perhaps beneath every conversation about wealth lies a conversation they don't yet know how to have. A conversation about fear, about identity, about insecurity, about the desire to finally feel safe. Because sometimes the loudest discussions about money are really silent cries for certainty. And once we understand that, we stop seeing only financial behavior. We begin seeing the human heart behind it. If this perspective changed the way you think, remember this. The richest person is not always the one with the largest bank account. Often, it is the one whose sense of worth no longer depends on it.